Good evening and thank you for joining us for News from a Catholic Perspective. I'm Wyatt Goolsby in for Lauren Ashburn. We begin tonight with an exclusive interview with the Trump official who tried and failed to stop a detained immigrant from getting an abortion. Correspondent Jason Calvi joins us now with an interview you'll see first on EWTN News Nightly. Jason?
Wyatt, Democrats on Capitol Hill blasted Scott Lloyd for his handling of this abortion controversy. Lloyd is the director of the Office of Refugee Resettlement. They're responsible for taking care of detained kids who cross the border illegally. Here, let's listen to yesterday's hearing.
Have you ever contacted any anonymous young girl in your care trying to talk her out of having an abortion?
I'm out in the field in many of our locations, and I meet with, dozens and even perhaps hundreds of the people who we serve, the populations we serve, and so among them, I'm certain that some of them were pregnant at the time.
I'm disturbed that you won't answer the question.
Joining me now is that man, Scott Lloyd. I know you say you can't talk about the specifics of this case, but how do you feel having lost?
Well, we had some important principles to defend in court, and we would have liked to see it go our way, certainly. But as with any of these cases, they involve real people, and we have to keep them in mind and keep them in our prayers.
The real people, I'm just wondering, are there many cases of these unaccompanied minors who cross the border illegally? Are many of them pregnant?
It's actually a tiny minority of the folks in our population. At any time we could have up to several thousand, and
several thousand young women or
young of both sexes in our shelters, but yeah, it's only a tiny minority at any one time that come across pregnant.
And I know the ACLU says you tried to convince one girl not to have an abortion. Are there circumstances where you, as the custodian of these children, would try to convince them to choose life? Well,
as I was saying a moment ago, there are people involved, and I take that responsibility very seriously, and I want to make sure that the kids in our care have everything that they need, and they know that they have everything that they need. And if it's necessary for me to deliver that message in person, that's fine. And in fact, I've met with dozens and perhaps hundreds of the kids in our care to know that there's a real person on the other end who's really looking out for their best interests. So
you have asked them to possibly consider choosing life as opposed to abortion?
I've presented options to a few folks who are pregnant, and I wanted them to know that we were there to help them with their situation, and we wanted them to know as fully as they could what was available to them.
I know you personally have written about your pro-life views in the National Catholic Register. You used to work for the Knights of Columbus. You're a Catholic father of 6.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the law of the land is that abortion is the law of the land. I know the HHS, that's the department that you fall under, their draft strategic plan says that life begins at conception. So how do you balance the law of the land and these pro-life views as well?
Well, the law from its inception in 1973, such as it is the law, has always been controversial and has been subject to dramatic pushback from the beginning, and it's been sustained up until this day. And so, to the extent that it's possible, wherever it's possible, we need to do everything that we can to protect the dignity of human life from conception to natural death.
I know it's been a very difficult week. I imagine it's been a difficult week for you. Have you considered stepping aside and going back to work maybe for the Knights of Columbus or another organization?
No.
Why not?
Not at all. When the going gets tough, the tough keep going, I guess. So, I think sometimes the noise that might be generated over one case or another can be a distraction, and I think it's best to just keep your head down and keep doing the work that you're doing. So,
Scott Lloyd, thank you very much, the director of the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jason.